right, let's visit again and talk about some vital and Bible topics. And what I want to discuss with you in the next few minutes is this question. Listen carefully. Is it possible for a house or site to be cursed or demonized? We're going to talk about that. Is it possible for a house or a site to be cursed or demonized? And is there any danger to those living there if that's possible? Now, this is a vital topic to me because I will hasten right in and tell you that in my early childhood, my parents unknowingly moved into such a place, and I'm still bearing the scars of it to this day. But in asking this question, it's obvious that you would not want to live in a place where you knew witchcraft and human sacrifice had taken place. Even if you're not a believer, you would repel such an idea. Now, the question would be, if you don't believe in spiritual things, yet you still would refuse to live in such a place. Now, why would you do that? Because even if your intellect denies it, hear me, even if your intellect, education denies it, your spirit recognizes the truth and the reality of it. Is it possible for a house or a site to be cursed or demonized? And if so, is there anything that can be done about it? And I will hasten to say, of course, yes, there is something that can be done about it. And the neglect of modern Christianity has brought a horrendous price to those Christians or others who lived in such places, suffered because of it, but knew nothing to do, or did not even recognize that they were dealing with spiritual powers. If you read in 2 Samuel, you read this final chapter, 1 Samuel, the final chapter, 2 chapter, the 2 Samuel, the first chapter, you'll read there about the deaths of Saul and Jonathan, king and prince of Israel, and how that when David heard that, he spoke a curse on Mount Gilboa, where they died. I've been there many times. I can't prove this, but I've been told by those who presume to know that Mount Gilboa to this day resists good crops and harvesting. Now, is that because David pronounced a curse on it? It could be. At any rate, this is a vital question for us. Is it possible for a house or a site to be cursed? And if so, can anything be done about it? And how can Christians protect themselves? I'm now 90 years old, as most of you know, many of you know. And when I was just 3 years old, living in Miami, my parents moved into such a house. They did not know it was demonized. They did not understand that kind of spiritual truth because, quite frankly, their church, thank God for their church, but their church was flatline, ignorant on this topic. And we suffered horribly because of it. My dad was in the U.S. Immigration Service, and I was born in Homestead, the south end of the tip end of the state. And when I was just 3 years old, we moved back to Miami and into a new house, new to us. And as my parents were bringing the furniture in, two-story house, they already had furniture up to the second floor. One of the neighbors came over and spoke to my mother in a very sweet, loving way, and then told her this exact word. She said, "I know what an inconvenience it would be for you to not stay here. She said, but I want to warn you that everyone who has ever lived in this house has had horrible crisis and tragedy. Well, the problem was my dad had to be in his office the next day. The furniture was already in the house. We had nowhere else to go, so we stayed. Wasn't long after that, well, immediately strange noises were heard in the house, noises that could not be identified. And then one morning, my mom woke up, and my dad normally would have sneaked out early and gone on to his office, but he was still there, and she nudged him, and he didn't respond. She nudged him again. He didn't respond, and she leaped onto her knees and jerked back the cover, and my dad was totally paralyzed. Could not move, could not speak, could not blink an eye, was totally paralyzed. He never recovered. It was very soon after that that I fell from the second floor, a balcony and a banister. I fell from that height, landed on my head, and almost bled to death. They fortunately got me to the doctor, rescued me, but 3 years later, I had a clot from that old injury to break loose and go to my brain and paralyze the whole left side of my body. And here, 87 years later, I'm still suffering because of that and still regretting, as the woman had warned my mother, that we had ever moved into that house. Now, please know this. Please hear me carefully. Jesus Christ said to us and his first disciples, I give you power to tread on serpents and scorpions and over all the power of the enemy. I give you power to tread on serpents, scorpions, over all the power of the enemy. But my parents didn't know that. Had they known that, they could have exorcised the house themselves, gone in. We could have lived there safely. I'm fully convinced my father would have remained a strong, healthy man, and I would have not suffered the paralysis that I did. But that's the fact. My question now is this: is it possible for a house or site to be cursed or demonized? And the answer is yes. More importantly, it is to know Jesus Christ said, I give you power to change that. You listen carefully. Jesus said, I give you power to change that. In my name, you cast out demons. All right, now, I want to address this closing question to pastors particularly. Are you doing it? Are you? Are you exercising the authority that Jesus Christ gave you? Are you rescuing your church members from the effects of demons rampaging in their lives, bringing illness, sickness, infirmity, financial crisis, a drug addiction, alcoholism, all of those horrendous things? Jesus gave us the power. Power we must use. You disciples, not just church pastors, you have that same authority, same power. If you're having demonic problems, attacks against your life and home, use the authority Jesus Christ gave you. All right? It's important. Do it. You'll find, again, some of the answers in this book, Spirit-Empowered Theology. 300 questions and answers on Bible topics. You can get this online. Go to Amazon. And please, press that little like and subscribe button at the bottom and let us know you're listening. So until I'm back, God bless you, be with you, love you big. Bye.